Right. Redirecting to YouTube, and that looks like we're live again. Yes. Right, close that down. No, that's the previous one. That's the one we want. And we're back live again, I think. Is that it?
We live?
No, that's the old one still.
No.
There we are, part 2, right. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely live again. Fantastic, okay. Let's continue. And we're back.
We're
After
back.
a lovely commercial break, or break so Carl can eat his dinner.
Yeah, it was like we had a red flag for a while, wasn't it? And they just thought, fuck it, let's put a red flag in this.
Or it was like the middle part of the Singapore Grand Prix, where nothing happened.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the middle part here. We're on to Lewis Hamilton.
We are on to Lewis Hamilton. So
I think we've done enough in Gasly, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, he jumped out of Max's way at every opportunity.
Well, yeah. No, of course he did, because that's company orders.
Yeah.
Right, go on then.
Minimize that. So, Lewis Hamilton looked nailed on for a podium. I thought it looked like he had the measure of Carlos Sainz. I know who's behind him on track, but I just felt like he was he was coming into that spell where no matter what he did, he would undercut him or overcut him, and he was going to get ahead of Carlos Sainz. And then he spaffed it into the barrier.
Yeah, I mean, also he was on the wrong tire for a while, or it was interesting. At the beginning, he was on the wrong tire. He was saying.
Well, no, he was. I think what that was, he wanted.
It definitely wasn't the wets, Ted.
No,
he wanted get over it.
He wanted to start.
I think he wanted to go on the wets. Like, fuck off, Ted.
No, he wanted to start on used Inters because they were easier to fire up. But I think it paid dividends later in the race because those tyres were quite worn out when they changed them over. So I'm not sure he would have got.
I didn't see any of the tyres actually as to what the end result was.
I saw a few of them coming off, and they were pretty much slicks when they were coming off.
Oh, really?
So I think it was the right thing to do what he did. It just meant that I mean, to be honest, it wasn't the tyres that lost him that position at the start. No. It was that side of the grid. You saw everyone who started on that side of the grid lost places because they were starting where the rubber was, and the water was on top of the rubber, which made it slippery, as opposed to the bits that had no rubber, and there was much more purchase there. So, always happens in the wet. Pole position is a disadvantage with a wet start, and everyone on that side of the grid did get a worse start. So I don't think Hamilton could have done a lot. That being said, he did make a few genuine errors that were his fault, and I think it was a bad result for him.
Yeah.
Really wasn't. I think it wasn't a great race.
The next 4 people. There's one slogan for the next 4 people. How the fuck are you here? For the next 4. So let's start off with Sebastian Vettel.
Okay.
How the fuck is he there? Like, fair play to him. How the fuck is he there?
Well, he could really have been 7th or maybe even 6th.
I know. So, but what a great! I don't know what happened to the Astons this week, but they seemed really good.
Just kept their noses clean, didn't they?
Yeah.
They just same thing as McLaren, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. They just stayed out of trouble and just kept it on the island. And
I mean, Vettel had some good battles as well, and.
I saw someone calling him the German Minister of Defence.
I mean, I was gutted that Verstappen got past him on the last lap. That was heartbreaking in some ways.
Yeah.
But fair play on him. Talking about Verstappen.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Or how the fuck?
Oh, that made me laugh. Verstappen, he was awesome overtaking.
I mean, they fucked up the qualifying for him for starters.
Yeah, that wasn't his fault, to be fair to him. He was doing what the team were telling him to do.
They fucked up, not him.
All he could do was drive fast. He kept driving fast, and they kept telling him to come in the pits and or abort the lap and go for another one. So it was he did make a few mistakes as well.
Yeah, and went off, and
I always class if someone has a bad start, they are still in charge of that vehicle. Unless it's like an absolute catastrophic clutch failure or something like that. A bad start is still a bad start, so that's still on him. Because
oh god, yeah.
At the end of the day, he hit anti-stall. That's not you can say bloody anti-stall, but Anti-stall is
It
there.
was like the
Anti-stall is
Hamilton with the
there.
button on the back.
Yeah, anti-stall is there to stop you stalling. Had it not been for anti-stall, you probably would have stalled, and that would have been the end of your race. So anti-stall
Yeah.
is a good thing. So he hit anti-stall, ended up losing 4 or 5 positions, got into a battle with Kevin Magnussen, subbed him into the stewards for having a broken front wing, even though that he was the one at fault for the collision with him and Kevin. Said the same thing about Hamilton, but obviously that was Hamilton's fault for going into the barrier anyway. And then just absolutely spaffed.
His wing's falling off.
And then
I looked at it. I was like, it's not falling
no,
off.
it's just a complaint.
Hamilton,
It's a complaint to the ref.
it's not falling off.
Hamilton's was falling off, to be fair. That would have given up at some point.
Yeah.
They had to come in for that. And then, he just absolutely spaffed it around Norris and took it off track, flat spotted his tyres, completely his fault. Really, really rough weekend for him. And what I've noticed with Verstappen is, I never thought I'd say this about Verstappen, but he seems to be the one who enjoys being at the front more. Because he's all risk and no reward now. He will just
also,
go
I
for
think
it.
This week, it almost felt like the pressure was on him to win the championship and he just couldn't do it.
And just the way that his attitude was after the race, when he was saying, oh, it's a terrible weekend for the team. It's like, did you not see who won the race, mate? Come on, show some respect. Show some respect to Checo. He just won an awesome race and driven the way that you should have driven.
Yeah.
And that rubbed me up a little bit the wrong way.
Number 3 in How the Fuck Are You Here? It's literally, how the fuck are you here, Stroll? What the fuck? Fair play at him.
He's good at street circuits and he's decent in the rain.
And he kept out of trouble.
Yep. Those 3 things.
Fair play at him. Like, fair fucks. Absolutely fair fucks to him.
Contender for driver of the day. Genuinely.
Okay. Here's another contender. Here's another contender for driver of the day.
Yeah.
Danny Rick.
I actually did give Daniel Ricciardo driver of the day in Grid Talk. I have actually been that was straight after the race and literally straight after the race. So I have actually kind of revised my theories on driver of the day now, and I'm not going to give it to him, but we'll get onto that later, I'm sure. Start 16th.
I don't think he was shit driver of the day.
I mean, he still gained 11 places. He still gained 11 places.
And
he gained
I
more
did the
places
maths of that. I did the maths of that as to, okay, so if Zhou was still in, if Latifi, if all the ones that were out, I worked out he would only be 2 places lower than that.
Yeah.
He would have ended up in 7th, which again, fair fucks to Danny Ricciardo.
I mean, Alonso's engine would have gone whatever because it happened so early in the race. Ocon's engine would have gone whatever.
Yeah.
So, you're right. The only people that went out that were ahead of him, really, I mean, Hamilton and Verstappen would have been ahead of him, but they screwed up. So they made mistakes. He didn't.
Yeah.
So, it's fair props to him. He got the car there. Yeah, he was well adrift of Norris on pace. But Norris had all the upgrades as well this weekend. But he still did qualify down in 17th. Started 16th, but he still qualified down in 17th. So it's still, he still put himself down there to begin with. But again, he kept out of trouble. Got a bit of luck with the safety car. But, he it's not like he was not stopping. He was not like he was trying to stop and couldn't. That was a genuine tactic. Everyone's switching to dry tyres. Someone's going to spaff it into the barrier. So we're going to stay out and hope for a safety car. And they got it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the McLaren pit wall was brilliant this week.
On it. I mean, even said early in the race. They even said early in the race, Lando, the plan is for your tyres to last longer than anyone else's.
Yeah.
Actually said it. They gave the game away.
Yeah.
Moving on to Norris.
Moving on to Norris. Another great race. I've got it. Like, he was so close to 3rd at one point, and I thought he was going to have him. And then he dropped back. Obviously, he just didn't have enough battery or whatever in the end of that race.
Yeah, just the pace of the Ferrari was too strong. But yeah, I mean, Sainz didn't really have the pace. He had nowhere near the pace of Leclerc. And I genuinely think that had Hamilton and Verstappen not had their moments, they both would have finished ahead of him. And I think Hamilton would have been pushing for the win if he hadn't have lost that place to Sainz at the start. Yeah, I genuinely think there was potentially a win on the cards there.
Great start from him though.
But he didn't. Yeah, Sainz. Good start from that side of the grid.
And he kept out of trouble.
It was a bit cheeky on Hamilton. It was right on the edge of acceptability, punching him off the track like that. But it was fine. I think if Hamilton's making that overtake from that position because he was effectively coming from behind Sainz by that point. The overtake was done. If Hamilton goes across that escape road and comes out ahead of him, he's got to give that position back. But it was right on the edge of what was acceptable. It was, but it was fine. It was fine. But that was where his race kind of ended. He just didn't really do anything after that.
Charlo boy.
Chuck.
Charlie boy.
Good old Chuck.
Why? Yeah, it suddenly became Chuck. I missed this. I've obviously missed this on Grid Talk. Why he's suddenly called Chuck?
No, they call him Chuckles.
Yeah, why does Tom call him Chuckles? I'm not
I don't know.
quite worked this one out.
I've called him Chuck for a while, but
I don't quite understand. Anyway, I missed the joke somewhere. Leclerc boy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like he was obviously in the league with Perez there. Had a bit of a shit start, shitter start than Perez. But I felt that was a fair race, and he did everything he could to get there.
yeah, he pushed him hard. I think he probably wore his tyres out a little bit in the pressure behind. The only thing really I'd say is that he got off to a bad start, and he had a slow pit stop at a time when Perez had just stopped. So that meant that Perez had an easy run in the pits. So I do think that maybe without those two things, maybe he wins the race.
Yeah.
Bit disappointing.
All right, talking about Mr. Perez.
Mr. Perez, well, I mean, probably shouldn't have won the race when you look at the penalties and the precedent set before. It's he was pretty lucky to hold on to the race win. But equally, the FIA should have dealt with it in the race, and they didn't. So he was he had three times he was pulled up for dropping too far back behind the safety car.
If I said two,
there were three.
One he got reprimanded, and one he got a penalty.
There were three. There was one where he was reprimanded, one where he was warned, and then later the same lap, he then got the one that he was penalised for. So there were three occasions where he dropped more than 10 car lengths, but substantially more than 10 car lengths behind.
Because I thought it was because he was originally I know now, but I thought it was because he was going up against.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but the whole thing with that, they were saying that his defence was that it was wet and he couldn't keep up with the safety car. Yeah, he was the one pushing the safety car along, saying you're going too slow. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And he's saying, oh, it was wet. I couldn't get heat in my tyres. And then the FIA said we didn't believe that it was wet enough to use that as a mitigating factor. But then in the same breath later on, when they've given the verdict, they said they've taken the fact that it was wet into consideration. But they said in literally the sentence before, we didn't believe it was wet enough to warrant it.
That turned into Red Bull are winning this championship, so it doesn't make any difference, but we're stopping Max winning it. So, we're not going to worry about it.
Oh, it was just
That's the FIA playing Netflix games.
The FIA are just all over the place at the moment. They really are all over the place.
I mean, they've all been all over the place for the last God knows how long. This whole new management thing isn't working.
Well, I think you've got to give them this year to bed in, and if it's like this next year, then serious questions have got to be asked. Because it's not. Mohammed Ben Sulayem, he's still learning the job, but if he doesn't see everything that's happened this year and put serious fixes in place, then he's not fit for the role, in my opinion. Yeah. And there's just this growing rift between the FIA and Formula One. And let's just not make any mistake here. I'm not blaming Formula One for this, because they have nothing to do with the management of the referees, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
That is all FIA. They are the governing body. It's like you don't blame Manchester United if the rules of football are wrong. You blame the FA. And that's the thing we have to clarify here. It's not
a bit different because it'd be like FIFA's fault as opposed to the FA's fault.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a blurry line. Yeah, like it's something FIFA's doing, not something the FA's doing.
Yeah, so but we'll keep this on F1. But yeah, look
at me understanding my football analogies.
I know. It is the governing body. It's the referees that are causing the problem here, not don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
That's what this is about.
And so, just what did you think about the race in Singapore? Like it just feels like that race is designed to be Crash Bandicoot in my mind.
No.
Sorry, we've had zero races without a safety car.
Yeah, but that's because of the nature of the track. And
The nature of the track. Monaco has had races without safety cars.
Yes. Okay. Go on. Finish, and I've got a point I can give you to that.
I'm just trying to think of all the street circuits. I believe Azerbaijan has had a race without safety cars.
Possibly. I couldn't say for certain. But so basically, around Monaco, the marshals are so well drilled there. You have a crane on every corner that can lift a car from anywhere in seconds.
I know, so it's within 2 foot as opposed to 3.5k.
You don't have that in Singapore because of all the buildings and the infrastructure around it. They're literally driving around the streets. Anytime a car stops on track, a marshal has to be put on track to wheel it into an escape road.
There's no way. Escape roads are weird.
There's no way of removing cars from the track without putting a marshal on track. Marshals on track means safety car, which means the only way we're not going to have a race with a safety car in Singapore is if the retirements happen in the pit. Or there's no retirements. So if there's a retirement on track, it's a safety car or a virtual safety car, guaranteed. That's just that's the way it is. Because for the safety of the marshals, that's the way it is. So I fully get that. I think it's we've had a lot of races there now. 14 races there, I think. 2007, 2008 was the first one there. So I know we obviously didn't have any races there in 20 or 21, but. It's still a lot of races there, and I don't think it's an unsafe track at all. I think it's a great spectacle. I think it's great to see them. It's better than Monaco for raceability. You can overtake, but it's very, very difficult to overtake. I think what this did show was it's easier to overtake than it has been in previous years, but not by the same level as we've seen at other tracks. And to see this track, I would have loved to have seen it in dry. Because if it's wet, you've got one dry line, you can't go offline. You saw what happened to Hamilton when he tried to pass Vettel right at the end. He went offline and just lost it.
I mean, I thought it'd be a bit more exciting being wet, but I was gutted it was wet in the end.
No, I wouldn't have minded it if it started dry and then rained. But the worst races are when it starts wet and dries because you just have one line, there's no overtaking. Yeah. You want the race to start dry and then it's a rain. That's the best races, but we never seem to get those races now. It always rains just before the start, then we get a delayed start, then it's all can we race, can we not race? Then we eventually start racing, it's a dull race because you just drive around one part of the track the whole time. Yeah. So it's annoying. But hey, we can't control the weather, that's all part of it. So
I mean, it was a real thunderstorm that.
Oh yeah, I love that. They were talking. It was still light in the paddock when the coverage started, and then they said, I don't think there's going to be much rain, if any at all. There might be a little bit in the middle of the race,
chance or something.
Yeah, and then they went to break, and they came back, and it was pitch black, and it was just like monsoons.
Yeah,
like okay. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, and they were all hiding in the press pit. Yeah, I was like, brilliant. I think I look like it's always a race that I've quite liked. It's actually one of those races I actually have watched a couple of times before I got really into Formula One with this podcast. And it's always one I've said to Laura I'd like to go to.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to go to it.
Of all the one, that's the one I want to go to, weirdly.
I've been thinking about this because obviously I'm not going to be going to Silverstone anytime soon. Given the prices they're there now, but unless I can get there on a press pass and just blag it. But I was thinking about what races could I get to anytime soon, and for me,
Spa.
I'm thinking Baku. Genuinely, I'm thinking Baku because it's a good track. It's an exciting track. Not a lot of people go there. I've looked at the prices. It's not ridiculously expensive. You're looking at kind of what Silverstone used to be 5 or 6 years ago.
Good weather.
Yeah, and it's I know it's a petrochemical state, but no one really goes. It's a bit deserted, and I've been looking at some testimonials on. And they say it's very well organised. There's no queues for anything, obviously because it's not particularly busy. Yeah, I was just thinking that's the one for me. And now I've said that, everyone's going to fucking go, aren't they?
I didn't even know where Azerbaijan is. Is that really bad?
It's kind of on the edge of Russia, but technically Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's that part of it. You know, around sort of Turkey, that area. I think.
Is that Google Maps? Yeah, it's north. No, it's north of Iran. East. There's Armenia between that and Turkey. It's on the Caspian Sea.
Yeah.
The next countries are. It borders Russia and Georgia.
Yeah. I knew it was on the edge of Russia, but Russia's a big place, so
Yeah.
you know, technically Japan's on the edge of Russia. I mean, not technically, it's
Well,
just off the coast, but
No, it's off the coast. Yeah.
and then a little bit further. But even so, you know what I mean. There's a lot of places that are near Russia because Russia's so vast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that I don't really know much.
And
about.
apparently, it's even bigger now, according to Putin. Mine.
Oh, is it? Mine. I'll have this one.
Yeah.
I want this
It's
bit.
like child's play, isn't it?
Mine.
It's like no Putin. Share with your friends Zelensky.
Mine.
You need to share your toys with Zelensky.
Mine.
I was actually quite worried. I was looking at the analytics of the website, and we had quite a few visits on the Monkeyseat podcast website from Russia the other day.
Oh, really?
I was like, okay, why have we got Russians coming onto our website?
Hello, Russia.
Hi.
Come and talk to us.
Don't go to our website. There's no point. There's literally nothing on there. I've not updated it in a very long time.
What do they think we're on? Oh yeah, the Caspian Sea is a lake, isn't it? It's a giant lake, basically. There we go.
So anyway, looking back at the race then, so Russell, we touched on it earlier. George Russell, you said you don't think he did anything wrong.
Okay, go on.
So Russell is a very aggressive driver. And people don't seem to notice this, but you saw the way he attacked.
I've been pointing it out for fucking ages.
The way he attacked Bottas was just mental. That was worse than Verstappen's spaff. That was like...
that he's driving like he's...
He attacked...
Who was that?
No, that was Schumacher. He attacked Bottas and then just like fully spanked it past him. Almost took Bottas's front wing off. Had Bottas not been aware of where he was...
He's had a running with Bottas before. It's a running thing.
Yeah, Imola.
Yeah, where he whacked him in the head.
In similar conditions. Yeah. And then as well, with Mick Schumacher, he just fully rammed into him and then ended up giving himself a puncture.
Dickish thing as well. Like, he's driving like his life deserves.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because 10 laps earlier,
off, you ignorant.
10 laps earlier, you smashed into him. That's why he's driving like his life depends on it, because he's worried about you behind him.
Yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, he's driving like his career depends on it. His career literally does depend on it.
Why would he not be driving like that? I don't understand. Yeah. I don't even understand your comment. What are you, a fucking knob?
People are comparing it. People are comparing it to the whole Albon thing, where Albon said about the AlphaTauri drivers, "Oh, they raced me so hard."
Yeah,
when he was racing for Red Bull.
Yeah, well, that's more of a team orders thing as opposed to, that was what that was about. Like,
the AlphaTauri drivers were racing him so hard because they wanted his seat. Yeah, that's why.
But that was more of a, you need to have the team orders on this, or sister orders. But this was just like, I don't even understand your comments. Like, of course he's racing hard. Like, what do you expect? Like, he's just going to let you through just because you're.
It's a street circuit and you can't overtake. So therefore, why would he not race you hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a dick. He just gets dick of the day just because I think he does get dick of the day, in my opinion. But anyway.
Who's our dick of the day?
George Russell.
Yeah. Right, moving on.
Done. Okay, that's sorted.
I think that is completely sorted. I just think that is the thing with the dick of the day. Okay, people crashed off, did stupid things, but he was a dick. He was a giant phallus dick. And a limp one at that. So fair fucks to you. You're in the back, gutted. You're a twat. You
nice. This poem was brought to you by Carl King. So yeah,
did you see him at the Patronus thing as well?
No, I didn't.
Oh my god, he was just like, there's Hamilton just looking cool as fuck, and then there's George Ezra.
Said nobody ever.
I know, but and then there's George Ezra just looking like he's
George Ezra.
George Ezra. I went to see George Ezra this week. That's why he's on my mind. George Russell. I mean, he just it was just like, it was just so camp, but not like, it wasn't even camp in a, gay camp way. It was just like,
Careful.
it was like, no,
Careful
it
how
looked
you-
like he'd come out of a business meeting. I was like, I was like, what? Just grow a pair. He just looked meek and stupid. That's what he looked. Now, we were talking about this today, that I'm the gayest straight man that's that my workmate, well, my team know. I was like, thanks.
Yes, you are. I do feel that I kind of I need to put this graphic up now to after your comments there about the gay straight man. Yep.
I'm happy with the gays.
Just keep digging, Carl. Just keep digging.
I'm not digging anything. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Oh dear. Right. Anyway, what else? Alonso. I'm like fully on the Alonso hype train now. I've been so impressed with him
Go
this
on.
year.
What? Yeah. What
Just
changed your
generally,
mind?
I've just been. I don't like before. He just came across as a whingy has-been who was holding up the place of somebody else in Formula One. And he's like fully put Esteban Ocon to bed. I know Ocon's ahead of him in the championship, but come on, anybody who's got any common sense can see like that Fernando Alonso has massively outperformed Esteban Ocon this year. And the guy is in his 40s. Ocon is in the prime of his career. He should be putting Alonso away now. He really should. If he's up to anything in Formula One, he should be putting him away. And do you know what? I am really looking forward to when Pierre Gasly goes there, because Alpine are probably one of my least favourite teams on the
I
grid.
still think that's such a stupid idea from Renault.
Well,
it's not going to incentivize.
It's very on brand. And
He's French. Yay.
I'm gonna try and not be racist against the French here. I am gonna try. I can't promise anything.
Yeah, well, you
But
just failed. So
it's a very
by caveating that, you just failed.
It's just on trends that we've seen in the past in Formula One. French teams like to hire French drivers regardless of their talent.
Yeah, but why would you hire a French driver? Okay, who's going to screw up your other French driver?
So I don't think the issue that they don't like each other really comes into it. We all have to work. We all have to work with people we don't like and work well with them from time to time. And the fact they don't like each other is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, if you're best mates with someone and you're in a Formula One team with them, you're not going to be best mates anymore. Hamilton and Rosberg were thick as thieves until they were teammates. Then they hated each other because they were both going for a world championship together.
Yeah.
If Sainz and Norris had been fighting for a championship, they would not be best of mates now. They're too competitive for that. So you don't want to have friends. You'd rather have enemies, because they're going to mutually respect each other and they're going to have that passion to fight each other on track. So I don't see that as an issue. The issue is neither of them
have any talent.
They have talent because they're good Formula One drivers, but neither of them are in that top echelon of drivers for my liking. None of them are as good as Fernando Alonso is now. And that's the problem. They're not upgrading. If they're getting rid of Fernando Alonso, they need to be getting someone in whose peaks are going to be as high as Alonso's are now. And I don't see Gasly.
Who would you go for, though?
I don't see Gasly or Ocon meeting that level at all.
Who would you go for?
It's difficult.
Get Vettel out of retirement?
No, absolutely not. Vettel's been broken since Ferrari. He's not. 2019 was the last year Vettel was any good. In fact, 2018 was the last year Vettel was any good. 2019, he was destroyed by... 2020 was when he was destroyed by Leclerc, wasn't he? But, he's been broken since... the start of 2019 was the last time he was good.
Yeah.
So, not Vettel. You would look to try and get someone like Lando Norris, but if you can't get someone like that, you can't get George Russell because he's tied in, then you look to the future. And I don't think that Gasly is the future. I just think he's kind of...
Sorry, all I can hear is your cat.
Yeah, that's the problem. They don't bother me anymore, but they just meow outside the door now.
I can hear you, Daddy.
I just don't think that... I think it's such an uninspiring lineup. Ocon and Piastri would be good, because Piastri would eventually catch and pass Ocon. But I just think Gasly and Ocon are just going to be faffing around in the midfield. And I mean, if I'm proved wrong, I'm proved wrong. They both won a race at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. However, both of them were gifted a race.
Yeah.
Neither of them have won a race on merit. Let's not forget that. yes, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly did well to win the races that they won, but they were gifted the position due to other people falling off the track
Yeah.
and extreme circumstances in both times. Hungary, extreme circumstances. Monza were extreme circumstances as well. And I don't think either of them are out and out race winners.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say. I mean, I would even have taken a risk on Daniel Ricciardo over Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
I would have taken a risk on him. I actually would have, because just something's not right with that, and I would have rather taken a risk on Ricciardo than sign Pierre Gasly. But
Yeah.
or even Colton Herta. At least that's something that's exciting. There's something about that that's exciting. I'd even take Nick De Vries over Pierre Gasly.
Oh, really?
But yeah, because you just don't know how good De Vries is. You kind of know how good Gasly is, and you know he's never going to be a world champion. Nick De Vries is a world champion. Yes, Formula E, but he's still a world champion. He knows how to win races. He knows how to win championships
Yeah.
at a top level. But it begs the question as well about Haas. I mean, if obviously we know that Magnussen's staying there, but who would you have for the other Haas driver?
I think I've heard a rumor
Go on.
that it's Logan Sargent.
Not for Haas. I don't
Or is
think.
it not Haas?
No, that's Williams. He's on the Williams Young
no.
Driver program.
I've heard it's what was the rumor? Oh shit, who was it? It wasn't Danny Rick. It wasn't Danny Rick, it was someone else. Who was it?
Well, you've got Nick De Vries,
No,
Antonio
Nick De Vries is
Giovinazzi.
supposedly going to AlphaTauri, which I can still not get my head around.
Yeah, considering that he's the Mercedes reserve
Yeah,
and he's going to a Red Bull team.
Understand that. I just literally cannot get my head
Well,
around.
he's a free agent. He can do what he wants.
And he's his own agent.
Yeah, exactly. He's released from Mercedes as of the end of the year to try and get a Formula One drive.
Yeah.
Obviously, Toto would rather it be Williams because that means he's not going to race against him.
I think he should be in Williams. I generally do.
I
not
hope
gonna
he
race
goes.
against him
I
in
hope
AlphaTauri.
he goes for Williams. I'm really sorry, yawning. Oh. I hope he goes to Williams. But if you're being offered an AlphaTauri or an Alpine seat, you're going to take them over Williams, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yes, I am in full agreement. I think he should go to Williams, but I'm not sure he will.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, I mean, Haas-wise, the other options there are Hulkenberg and Giovinazzi. It just goes to show that we're just
the Hulk's back. No.
we're just low on better options, and it just shows that something like Formula 2 is not the most competitive season.
What do you
right
think
now.
Rick should do?
I said before, I think Ricardo should go to Williams if there's a seat on offer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think now they would go with De Vries over Ricardo, and I think that probably is right.
Yeah.
But if there's a seat on offer at Williams, go there. I don't think he should go to Haas. I think that would be the end of his career if he went to Haas.
Yeah.
He's thinking about going to Mercedes as a reserve driver and hope that Lewis Hamilton retires, and then they offer him the seat. That's a lot of ifs and maybes, and then once you're out, really. Look how hard it's been for Hulkenberg to try and get back in.
Yeah.
After being dropped from Renault.
And still he's in the discussions.
Yeah, but it's been 3 years of just like, will he get back in, and how ring rusty will he be now? Hulkenberg is just, and going back to Giovinazzi as well. That experiment's failed
Many times.
It's just a bit depressing, really. I would rather see. I mean, I don't think Drugovich is anything that should be in Formula One, particularly. I know he's just won a Formula 2 championship, but I don't think he's. I don't know. He's taken him 3 years to win Formula 2, and he's only won it when the talent has virtually gone out of that series anyway. So I don't particularly rate him. I don't think that Logan Sargent is F1 ready yet. I hope he doesn't get the seat, because then F1 will get that American driver and he won't be up to it, and he's not up to it yet.
No, is it just for the sake?
I think he can do. I genuinely think he's got talent. I mean, if you go back and listen to podcasts from 2020, you'll hear me talking about Logan Sargent in a very positive light. I just don't think he's F1 ready at the moment.
No, but what can make him F1 ready?
I think he needs to do something. Either he needs to do some F1 sessions, and then he needs to go to another series, or win F2. If he can win F2 next year, again, it will be his third year in F2, but hopefully it will be a bit more competitive next year, because they'll you've got some fresh faces coming in, and you've got some people getting better.
Yeah.
Who's the Japanese driver? I can't remember his name now, but the Japanese driver in Formula 2, he had a really good season. He was debutant season for him. I thought he did really well. I'm gonna have to look up his name because I can't remember it now. Where is it? Iwasa. That's it. Iwasa. He looked
yes, he's doing really well, isn't he?
He looks really good. I think he might be the driver to beat next year. Theo Pourchaire's tailed off. I thought he was going to be mega in Formula 2. Jack Doohan's looked good. Genuinely looked good. Despite us bashing him on this podcast back in 2020 when he was in F3. He's looked
And he's
good.
still there. But what do we know, lads?
Lawson's fallen away. Deruvala's never really been up to it. Vesti's fallen away. Vips has just self-destructed and never shown that consistency. It's been a difficult year for Formula 2 drivers. They just haven't made that step.
Yeah.
And Drugovic was just the best of a bad bunch, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's difficult to see where it comes from. And do we see Formula IndyCar drivers coming across? Out of the IndyCar drivers there, I mean, Alex Palou, maybe. He's raced in Europe, so he knows how it works over here.
What's Grosjean up to?
Oh, God, no. That experiment's well and truly gone. He had 10 years and didn't prove anything, so no, not Grosjean. I mean...
But so it's Hulkenberg, and he's still coming back.
Yeah.
We've still spoken
still
about
trying.
in whispers. Is he anyone's test driver or anyone? I can't...
Yeah, he's still contracted to Aston Martin, but that comes to an end this year because Drugovic is the new test driver.
Oh, yeah.
So
in their academy.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I don't know if he's replacing Hulkenberg or if he's working alongside Hulkenberg, but they'll very much want him to be the reserve, not Hulkenberg.
Yeah.
But I guess the only other thing we could really talk about, which we can't really talk about yet because we don't really know what it is this whole budget cap fiasco.
Yeah.
About the.
Oh yeah, go on. So yeah, what's that?
Well, I mean, no one really knows what it's about yet, but it's rumoured that all the accounts have now been submitted and that Aston Martin and Red Bull have spent over the cap. And some of the punishments could be pretty serious. And I don't know when they're going to apply it.
Yeah, it's all a bit vague, isn't it? Like, because they
it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented.
Well, no one knows what. Yeah, because this is the first year we've had these budget caps. So
yeah. And the punishments for major...
This isn't for this year. This is what I don't understand.
Well, this is what I mean.
It's this year. It's for last year's accounts.
Yeah, because the accounts have only just been fully submitted from last year.
Okay, because like everyone does their taxes and okay.
Yeah, so that's fine. I get that. But
then with the budget restrictions in last year?
Yeah.
Fully?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $140 million, I think it was.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's Red Bull and Aston Martin. And of course, the biggest question that everyone's asking themselves is what the hell did Aston Martin spend it on?
Well, this is the thing. This is the question. Like, what the budget cap, what does that include? It doesn't include the drivers. It doesn't include their test facilities. And what does it include? Because they're obviously building the brand new building. So it's either some very creative accountancy that's gone very wrong.
I don't think infrastructure counts. Now, I did when this came out.
That Aston Martin obviously spending a fecking fortune on that.
Yeah, when this came out, I did have a document, a very useful document, which had all of the cost cap stuff in it. I don't know if I've still got it. Doesn't look like it. I've only got the sporting regs. No, I don't think I've got it anymore. I did have I had a thing that had all the everything that was in the budget cap. Is it in here?
But I don't think.
No, I don't have it anymore.
I don't think it includes.
I don't think it includes buildings and rent on those buildings.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can only be on developments and the car. And I mean, you can see, Red Bull just kept relentlessly bringing stuff back to the to the team. Kept bringing stuff to the car all year last year.
Yeah.
Whereas Mercedes didn't, and yet they still aced issues regulations. So it begs a question: just how much did they do? and when can that be applied? Now, I'm not going to be on that train of people saying, reverse Abu Dhabi 21. Red Bull need to get a points deduction from last year or anything like that. Because to be honest, if they did
how do you facilitate that?
yeah, if you did that, it would have to be constructors' points, surely, and then that wouldn't affect anything because Mercedes won it anyway. So, I don't think that's the answer. I think any punishment has to apply to next season. I think it should be something that if they have broken the budget, this is all alleged at the moment. This is for Aston Martin and for Red Bull. I would say that it would need to be a fine first and foremost. There would need to be, if this is corroborated as a major breach, it would need to be a fine. It would need to be a reduction in next year's budget cap to the amount that they went over last year. Next year's budget cap, it has to be. And a points deduction from this season. That's how I would police it.
Mm-hmm.
So that they get points deducted off this season's total and again reduce budget for next year. That's how I would do it. If it's an absolute blatant disregard for the system, we spent over, so what are you going to do about it? It can only be expulsion from the championship for that season and all prize money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing it can be for me.
Yeah. Because
it's cheating. At the end of the day, it's cheating. That's what it is.
So what are you saying is that it should happen? That they should just...
If it's a minor breach or it's a major breach that is just
Jesus, I got so confused with the minor breach.
Can't be explained. So basically, if it's less than 5%, then you could probably just get away with a fine and a slap on the wrist. And if it happens again in the next 3 years, then it's a major breach. Suspended sentence, something like that. If it's anything over 5%, then I think it's got to be serious. It's got to be points deduction, budget reduction, and a fine. And if it's just like completely, disregard, then that's expulsion.
Yeah.
From next year's championship, I would say. Or maybe even from this year's, I think, probably.
I mean, that would be interesting.
But again, we'll wait and see what comes out.
What is going to come out? What are we waiting for? Because obviously
the FIA making a decision on it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we might find out something by the end of the week.
I wonder how, although this is accountancy, you can't actually Google that. You can't actually find out what their accountants are doing, because you can go into company's house and find out the company, but that would just be the overall company accounts. That won't be related to F1. So what I can't understand is how the accountants are fucked up so much with the creative accountancy when there is lots of loopholes and gaps you can actually hide this money in.
Yeah. Especially when you got like Red Bull Powertrains division that they've been massively upscaling, and and that annoyed me as well.
I do wonder if that's going to be the thing that that's the one.
I reckon they've tried to hide certain things in there, and they've been found, and they've had to pull them out and say, no, sorry, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
I reckon that's what's happened, and the same thing with Aston Martin. I'm sure Lawrence Stroll isn't averse to some creative accounting, allegedly. So only other thing we should really do then is we didn't do any predictions for this race because we didn't do a podcast after Monza. But should we do predictions for Japan this weekend?
Yes.
What do you reckon then? Let me just write this down.
I don't know Japan at all. I've never seen a race there.
Have you not?
Not a clue. Not a clue, because it hasn't been for the last couple of years.
We've not had one for the last 2 years, have we?
And it wouldn't be one that I've ever thought about, really. I think I probably have seen it because I used to watch every race when I was a kid, but it's not in my memory bank. So I've literally got no idea about this race.
Have you ever? You must have seen Damon Hill win the World Championship, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you remember the line, Murray Walker, Damon Hill wins, and I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was at Suzuka.
Okay. So I do remember that.
Yeah.
But it was such a vague child memory.
It's a high-speed circuit, but it's very tight and twisty. It's like the whole track is like Maggots and Beckett's in Silverstone.
Oh, really?
So it's a bit like Saudi Arabia with runoff.
Okay. With runoff.
Yeah. But not much runoff. It's gravel traps and barriers.
All right.
So not run off as such.
Okay.
But yeah, and they've got some very, very fast turns and a couple of big stops as well. I think it's very, I don't know, it's high speed, but it's also high downforce. So it's kind of big. I'm not sure who it's going to favour. I mean, it's going to favour Red Bull because they've got the best car, but I think Ferrari will be strong as well. I don't think it's going to suit Mercedes. But strange things happen at Japan.
Oh, it's the figure of 8 one.
Well, I mean, Singapore was a figure of 8 as well, but yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Singapore
it joins.
figure of
Yeah.
8.
It doesn't quite
It does
cross
that.
over.
It does
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know,
No, there is another one that's got a crossover. I can't remember which one it is.
so which makes it interesting because of tires. Obviously, you know, in a normal track, you know, you'll have one tire wearing more than the other.
Yeah, well, it depends on how
Probably.
many left turns you got versus right turns.
Yeah.
It's
you've
fairly
only got
even.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Oh Jesus, the S curves. I mean, that's a wibbly wobbly section, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole opening first sector is so difficult. It's a really it's the
speed
most
down
important part.
and then sort of do creatively called the first turn on this, whatever I'm looking at here on the Wikipedia, first turn, which corner 1 and 2, which is basically a long sweeping corner, high speed corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are just bouncy sweepy corners.
Yeah.
And
then you head round the hard left-hander and then round onto underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
And then you got the hard
And
left-hander.
then you've got the hairpin. Then you've got the hairpin.
Yeah.
And then the spoon curve.
Yeah, and then round into 130R.
No, that's a massively fast straight then.
Yeah, but it's
even
also
you go down into 15 and then you're still on the pretty straight.
It should be flat out, hopefully, in these cars.
It's 15, 16 then becomes a bit of a.
And the weather's always random in Japan as well. So
yeah.
I mean it's a difficult track to overtake on, but with these cars it might be easier, and it's a high speed circuit. It's high downforce in places as well. So yeah, I can't go anything other than a Max Verstappen pole. So I'm going to go for a Max Verstappen pole for that. What about yourself?
On pole. No, yeah. Jesus, I literally don't know. They've literally got corners called 200R and 130R.
Yeah.
Oh, because this is a motorbike circuit, I'm guessing.
Possibly. I don't actually know the reason why it's called that.
Stupid name. I don't know. I literally don't know. I don't know enough about this track, so I'm finding this really hard. I really don't know.
Pick a name. Pick a name out of a hat.
I wish I could. I think it's going to be. Who else is there?
Jesus Christ!
I know, but
I'm
I don't
going to
know.
bed at some point tonight.
I'm just trying to think of who else is there. I don't know his track. I don't know anything about it. I'm finding it's really hard, so I'm going to go safe and do a Max Verstappen.
Okay, Verstappen for pole.
If he's still in the race, because they don't get kicked out.
I am going to go with a Charles Leclerc win.
A Charlie Leclerc win?
Yeah, because my hot take is going to be 0 Honda engine finishes.
I'm probably going to go with
Which
Maxi.
technically is always right because they're Red Bull powertrain engines and there technically isn't any Honda engines left on the grid. But they're still Honda Racing Company.
Yeah, the Honda Racing, Honda Sport supported.
Yeah. Finisher. I'm going to go 0 Honda engine finishes in the points.
Well, I'm going to go. The only person that's going to get points is Zhou.
Zhou doesn't have a Honda engine.
No, because he's Japanese still.
He's Chinese, but okay.
Oh, no, the other one.
Sonoda.
And
he is driving a Honda engine.
Okay. Oh no. Yeah, the only Honda engine that gets.
Okay, so Sonoda best place. Best place Honda.
Yes.
Right, and who's going to win?
Max.
Oh, so I just thumped the microphone there.
I've just done some casual racism there. I'm sorry, I didn't quite mean the casual racism
It's fine.
that came across.
Cool. Right. I think that covers us for this week. Then we promised we would try and be a bit more regular from now on.
You sound like diarrhea.
We're gonna start taking our tablets once a month to make sure we're more regular. For the rest of the season, we'll endeavour to bring you a podcast after every race, and maybe one at the end of the season as well. If you're missing us and we're not there, then head to Grid Talk, F1 Chronicle.
Weirdly, I've been appearing on them more than I've been appearing on my own podcast,
and also Grip Strip podcast, the uncensored podcast.
Did you read? Did you listen to that one?
To be honest, I listened to about 15 minutes of it. That's all I managed to get through.
Thanks for the support, mate.
But I did listen to some of it. I didn't get. It was about an hour and a half long, and I just didn't have time to listen to the whole thing. But so I had
you
about
have
15
nothing
minutes.
else better to do while you're delivering post. Don't be saying you've got nothing else. No, don't lie to me, Tom. You just couldn't be asked.
I have been very busy, and I've had a lot of time.
No, you just can't be asked.
I've had a lot of time away from work as well. But you still got my listeners on the stats, so you've got that.
I love that there's a mini roller coaster of the Suzuka Grand Prix. That's brilliant. What is that? That's cool. It's the exact same track, but in miniature.
Right, Carl's excited about a little go-kart track now, so
it's not. It's like a theme park ride.
Cool.
That's Suzuka.
I'm going to call it.
The track.
I'm going to call it. We're going.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.